brilliant speed with vibrant service, vibrant broadband internet.
All right, it's 10:30. The show is yours.
The show is ours. Well, yeah. Welcome to Vibrant U Live. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
I'm Nathan.
And Woody, it's back to school time.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Kids are all back to
The
school.
moms and dads that are at home are saying yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we thought we should talk about keeping your kids or grandkids safe online this week. Our age group learned about the internet in our teens and adult years. Well, actually, we invented it, right?
Yeah, a guy that's younger than me invented it, so yeah. Okay.
Well, and, you know, we grew up doing other things. I mean, we weren't online, right?
I didn't have
we
a
were
computer.
outside, right? So, to us, we kind of evolved with the internet, so we kind of learned as the internet grew, we kind of learned how to be safe online, and we still talk about that with our cybersecurity Vibrant U, but kids today are born in the internet age. I mean, my granddaughter's a year and a half, and she already knows how to push the screen on a phone and make it do things, right? But it's important that we teach them about online safety along with everything else that we're teaching our kids. Nathan's going to go into, teaching kids when they're young.
Yeah, a lot of it's education. We're all used to teaching our kids not to talk to strangers, how to be safe out in public. But when it comes to the internet, they could be quote unquote out in the public, sitting in their room at your house and stuff like that, because the internet connects you to kind of anywhere. So kids are going to learn by mimicking adults, kind of the monkey see, monkey do thing. So if you have positive manners and positive way of treating the internet, then hopefully your kids will pick up on that as well. Kids are starting younger and younger now with devices, whether it's their parents' old smartphone that's sitting in the drawer, or a lot of kids get their own iPads, or kids are getting their own phones at younger and younger ages for gaming, for watching videos and stuff like that. As they learn, like Shane mentioned, little kids can now operate a phone and get to YouTube and watch a video better than a lot of adults can. So you got to make sure you have the proper things locked down, security set up, because even something like YouTube, I love YouTube. I know Shane's a big YouTube fan. I could spend hours watching videos on YouTube, but YouTube is not generally a safe place for a young child unless you have certain protections set up. And we, it starts with your pins and your passwords and accessing when they can access the internet. In fact, I think Jane can go into some specific tips on how to keep kids safe online when they're connected.
Right. So back to school also means back to school pictures, right?
Ooh.
So first off, just pay attention to the background. Make sure that your address isn't there, or if there's a car that has a license plate on it, because people are very resourceful and can find you anywhere. So be careful with that. In addition to, don't share full name addresses online. Just don't do that at all. Don't tell them where you're going to school, your phone number, any of that, because you really have to trust people, and the internet is not a place to trust people. And then also limit your access to social media, and just pay attention to what your kids are posting, or what apps that they're on, in a sense. And then right now, I mean, I have two girls in their 20s, and everything that they do, they're taking a picture of and posting it on something. So they don't, that's not necessarily a good thing. So just pay attention. We don't need to know everything that they're doing, because what's happening is you're going to get some stalker keeping an eye on them, and then Lord knows what's going to happen, right? So the other thing too is it's really a relationship between you and your grandchild or your child. So make sure that they trust, like you have a trusting relationship, and that they feel comfortable coming to you and asking questions about where to click, what should I do, how to spot a nefarious link.
Right.
There's that nefarious word.
Good old nefarious. I knew him.
Yeah,
Nefarious Johnson.
And then really important, be kind to people online. Just because they're not face to face with you, it doesn't give you that right to be nasty to somebody online, and just kind of state your business online too. Just be very respectful and treat others to how you wanted to be treated.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, you wouldn't talk to somebody like that face to face, then don't say that online. Turn off location sharing on apps and games. So the kids shouldn't have those on because they can be traced and tracked. The only apps that should have location sharing are the ones that the parents are using for tracking their kids. Otherwise, they don't need to be on. And it's better to keep your location private, especially when you're playing games online. Beware of strangers online. Just like you wouldn't talk to strangers in real life, teach your kids not to talk to strangers online. I mean, if they're in a game and somebody is that they aren't playing with all of a sudden comes in and starts talking, don't engage with them. Report when something feels wrong. And here, like Jane mentioned, have that relationship with your kids where they feel like they can come to you when they feel off, when something doesn't feel right, if something's suspicious or whatever. Go to, make sure that they can talk to their parents about that. And of course, we can all learn about this, but not everything online is true.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who invented it, Al Gore, that wasn't true.
That wasn't true, right? So teach your kids that people can spread misinformation or untruths online. Tell them to question everything and ask you if they have a question on whether something is true or not. And help them fact check and learn the truth. Nathan's going to talk a little bit about being open with your kids.
Yeah, like I said, communication and education is extremely important, and not just for the kids, but for the adults. My kids aren't old enough to use the internet kind of on their own yet, but I have a nephew who was I was hanging out with recently, and he was watching, just kind of scrolling on YouTube. He was watching videos of people playing Minecraft, which is a popular video game, especially in the younger age. And some of those videos are great, but he landed on one. I kind of heard some of the language the person was saying, and it was clearly, an adult playing the game, and they weren't saying super bad stuff, but they were cussing and they were saying stuff that my 8-year-old nephew really shouldn't be watching. So, just because do you think, they're watching a kid's game on their thing, whatever? Well, there's still different levels of that, and you can control a lot of that in the settings. But the bottom line is, kids aren't always going to be in your sight either. Kids go to a friend's house. Kids can connect at school. Kids connect all kinds of places that you're not always going to be there. So the important is to educate your kids and set up, protections on devices. Almost every service, YouTube, Disney Plus, whatever, has limitations of where you can put locks on things and age restrictions and stuff like that. So be aware of what you can do as a parent. Make sure they're comfortable talking to you, like we've talked about before. I heard an interview recently about a guy who's investigating, these high school kids that get caught up and they get blackmailed. They accidentally, they're manipulated to send a picture of themselves or something, and then they're kind of told to send us this money. Your life's going to be over because I'm going to tell your parents. I'm going to tell everybody that you're doing this or whatever. And just the fear of being in trouble, or that fear causes them to either send money or do worse things to try to cover it up. So, obviously, we not telling anybody how to parent their kids. Or to discipline their kids, but sometimes it's very important to know that you're on their side and that they can talk to you or talk to an adult. Teach them, again, how to be safe online. Like Shane mentioned, you wouldn't walk into a bar as a kid. You wouldn't go talk to strangers on the street. So treat the internet the same kind of way. And if they see something, or if they see a friend do something, just try to make sure that they communicate it to someone and they're willing to talk about it. So, and then we'll kind of talk about how Vibrant can also help, as best we can, to protect our kids as well.
Right. So now it's after school and some of the kids are coming home and there's really not any parental supervision because the parents are at work. So typically when I was that age, I would pick up the phone and give my mom a call and say, hey, I made it home from school, just kind of a check-in. So for people that don't have phones anymore and their kids are too young to use a phone, Vibrant offers phone. So for $20 a month, you can have that security and that safety, knowing that your kid can pick up the phone and give you a call. The other thing that's really amazing is our router. We have parent controls. There's content filter. And our new routers have the ExperienceIQ. And so basically it offers security and kind of that comfort for a parent or a grandparent, and its ability to block the websites, kind of like what Nathan was mentioning, to have that content stumbling upon things that they really shouldn't pay attention to. And then what is really neat is when you go onto the app, you can look at what devices are on there, who owns them and how much time they've been on them. So you can control that. And another really good option is you can set up a guest Wi-Fi and put your kids and their friends on it, and then that's when you can protect the content. So they're not going to be able to get into those situations where it's uncomfortable and awkward and more adult-oriented. So some really good things, and it kind of puts you back into the driver's seat as a parent or a grandparent, and puts a little, like I said, at ease as a
Another cool thing that it does is it lets you set time limits. So I mean, you can put, if you could let them on the internet for an hour or 2 hours, or when bedtime is, it shuts their device off the internet so they can't access the internet. So that's pretty cool too.
And as when my kids were in school, I made them turn in their devices, and I put them in our bathroom, so that way they're not up in the middle of the night. They're getting a good night's sleep,
right,
and they're disconnected from that social media.
Yeah. Just kind of to wrap up, we mentioned earlier, kids aren't always going to be home. They're not always going to be sitting next to you and on your home network. Truthfully, I shouldn't think we should set some of these boundaries on our devices, limits, and trust that the technology is going to protect our kids either, because stuff does happen. So education is really key, teaching their kids how to stay safe online, how to communicate when they see something uncomfortable or they come across something. They're not always going to do that, but at least have that communication. And just like in real life, don't talk to strangers. Be kind to friends in schools. Bullying, unfortunately, is gotten even worse with the digital age, with social media and some of this stuff. So, and don't share their location, stuff we talked about. And we like to say, you wouldn't want a kid walking into like a bar or an adult atmosphere and interacting with adults without you. You can think of some of these online chat groups or comment sections, stuff like that, is a similar way. They're interacting with adults. You can think of it, and not all adult content is horrible stuff. You take something like Shane's Beer Guys TV. He does a beer podcast reviewing beers and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not really content for children either. So just be aware of what is going on the internet, what they're doing. Like I said, put up some of these guardrails as much as you can, but just be educated as well. And ultimately, Vibrant will do our best to help. We have the equipment to help protect you in a lot of ways, but we're not always going to be there. You're not always going to be there. So it kind of, what they say, it takes a village to raise and protect kids and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and I just want to remind everybody about our promotion. We have a fall promotion going on right now where you could have a chance to win some Vikings tickets.
All right.
Yeah, to the November 16th Vikings versus the Bears game. New subscribers that subscribe to 200 megabits per second or higher get a $50 Visa card and a chance to win those 2 tickets. And if you already have Vibrant or you're a Meeker Energy member, you also have a chance, if you refer somebody, you'll get $25 and they'll get $25 if they sign up. Mm-hmm. But also you'll have a chance to win 2 more tickets. The 4 tickets are together in the same section. So it's really a fun promotion we've got going on until the end of this month. We're really excited about it. We'd like everybody to have a chance to win those tickets.
So if you have any questions, give us a call, 693-3231, or learn more about us at vibrantbroadband.com. Catch the replay on Facebook or YouTube channel. Search for Vibrant Broadband. And then listen live every Wednesday at 10:30 on KLFD.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, audience, for listening. My name is Shane.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Nathan.
Tune in next week for another Vibrant You Live.
Brilliant speed with vibrant service. Vibrant broadband internet. Vibrant broadband internet.